Hello, my name's Greg Harford and I'm the Chief Executive of Retail NZ, the not-for-profit association supporting the retail sector. I'm really excited to be here today to introduce you to the first episode of How to Retail Recovery Edition. In this series of videos, we'll be providing inspiration and information from Auckland retailers about how challenging the last few months have been and how businesses have survived and are getting through. We'll be looking for inspirational stories about how businesses can keep operating, how they can keep growing and keep their customers engaged even through the worst of the lockdowns, and then getting out the other side, how life can be better for them. Today, we're going to be talking to Winston Seward, known as Wax, the owner of SUP2 clothing. Winston has a thriving retail business and a thriving e-commerce business, but of course for all retailers, including Wax, times have been tough over the last few months. I'm really looking forward to hearing about how his business has made it through and what he's doing to keep customers engaged and to keep that growth momentum moving forward.
Hi, I'm Uncle Wax and this is SUP2. This is my family-owned Kiwi business that's been going since 2010.
Wax, how have you been surviving over lockdown?
It's been pretty tough, Sophie. Obviously the doors have been closed. Fortunately for us, we're online, but still, you usually have the people, the regulars and the guys that walk off the street come into the shop and buy also, but yeah, we're getting through it.
How have you been coping the last 18 months?
So luckily for us, we were classified as essential, supplying clothes, but we did a lot of work from home after hours. During the day, we'd be in here picking and packing orders. We couldn't even do click and collect, obviously at level 4. We did a lot of marketing work, so we used the platform for social media, all the Instagram, tweeting, Facebook page. So we were lucky enough that we had those up and running probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and we've just continued to use it, and that was probably the closest and the only way we could touch base with all the customers. Every time we did put a post out, we grabbed a couple of sales here and there.
It hasn't been easy for everybody. What's your one piece of advice for other retailers?
For us anyway, here at SUP2, what we did was we had to find content that was different to the norm. So everybody outside of Auckland, so we were lucky we had good friends like Christian Cullen, Carlos Spencer, guys that are doing competitions, and then we ran off those, on the back of those. Obviously they had products that they could give away as well that they were doing on TikTok, and we just keep reposting it through social media, Instagram, Facebook page once again, Twitter. It's crucial, especially for the younger people they're all about their telephones, they're all about social media. That's the biggest way we could communicate. Not just here in New Zealand, but outside of New Zealand as well.
As a business owner, how do you incorporate wellness strategies into your business?
For me, it was basically walking the family dog. We'd be exercising down at the park, the whole family. Staff members were doing the same. So when we actually got back into the building at level 3, there was only a couple of us. I'm usually here all the time. Then obviously luncheons together, coffees, I'd grab coffees for them. Just the norm. It's important to keep the morale boosting going. We don't know what everybody's going through.
Could you tell us about your supply chains? Have there been any issues? What have been the workarounds?
For us, we're pretty lucky that we've got a special relationship with all of our suppliers. Obviously, a lot of their products coming from overseas. That's been slow, the freight's been slow. Just freight around New Zealand constantly is slow since lockdown here for Auckland. But we've been very fortunate that most of our supplies, or the products that we did need, we did have, and we were able to get it once, like for example, the printers all came back on board, then we were able to get product back into the shop.
As a New Zealand business, what's happening with international sales?
There's obviously a lot of Kiwis offshore, so we've got a few collaborations there with some of New Zealand top artists, Dick Frizzell, Otis Frizzell and Mike Weston with their art gallery stuff, so we do a few of their works. American athletes also, Donnell Mooney from Mooney World, who's a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Every now and again when we talk to them, probably once or twice a month, we give them a code, they put it out there, and then the sales are picking up again. So we had to diverse a little bit, especially during lockdown. Unfortunately for us, a lot of Kiwi art products went overseas from us as well.
Wax, how are you keeping up with customer demand and expectation through this time?
A lot of it's online sales, and Probably the majority of the interactions is always on social media, whether we post, public post comes back to us or messages. We always get a lot of messages. For example, if we do have a product and it's out of stock in some certain sizes, we'd like to ring back or put an email through to them and then just give them another option. 9 out of 10 times, they've been awesome and they've always taken the option. Otherwise, they'll hold off until the stock comes back in. It has been good with the interaction that we do have on all our social media platforms. If it wasn't for that, we'd be struggling.
You've mentioned quite a few people have supported you along the way. Any shout outs?
Sophie, there's too many to name. We've had so many people help us. You got Stephen Adams, you got Matanona, you got Tana Umanga, Taika Waititi. In the States, you've got Donnell Mooney, who's with the Chicago Bears. You got Keelan Crossan, who's up with the New York Jets. New Zealand, Dylan Belcher, Monty Beetham, Logan Swan, just guys that I've grown up with, knowing them, from the sporting days and that, and they've always sent pics, posts, shared everything to touch base with, even their followers. So we've been very lucky.
Looking back on the past 10 years, is there anything you wish you'd done faster or earlier?
Probably getting online sooner rather than where we're at now. But you're constantly learning. I'm lucky that, even with my wife Gina, we're always doing designs after hours. We're looking at different fonts, different fabrics, and getting up to our factory offshore sooner. The relationship there between us and the factory now is awesome, but if we were there sooner than where we are now, obviously I reckon things could have been a bit different, but we're going at the right pace for us too, at our small crews, so we're pretty lucky. But I think e-commerce, if you're not on e-commerce now, you'll get left behind.
Do you have any wider support from organisations such as Retail, NZ or any other vendors?
Retail NZ's been awesome during the lockdown period. Every other time also, but more so during the lockdown. CEO Greg Harford, he's been awesome. Just voicing the opinions on that the retailers should be pushed to be open, and just obviously safety procedures to go with it. But no, they've been awesome. The webinars they put through on their website and that as well has been awesome. I know it would help a lot of little guys like myself, and that they don't have time to obviously attend these conferences and seminars, but the webinars, the 15-20 minute blocks, have been awesome, been handy.
How important is the summer trade for you, and what's your plan for the next 3 to 6 months?
Pretty important, the summer range. So we're obviously already into the winter range for next year, but the summer plans, obviously with the lockdown slowly coming out of itself, we're lucky that people can come and shop now. We've noticed a big difference, obviously people will come in to purchase 1 or 2 products that they've seen and they'll walk out with about half a dozen because they see the rest of the range, and that's what retail does for you. You can see that the people are shocked to see other products in line, but when they online, you don't get to see the full range. But planning going forward, winter, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing for winter and summer next year that we're looking into already. I guess the lockdown period has given us a lot of thinking and designing time together to start planning forward.
So is SUP2 involved in the local community?
So we try and help out the lower socio-economic regions, especially in sports. If we can supply uniforms or just other resources that the kids need, we always try and hopefully keep everybody active. We sponsor quite a few tag teams, obviously touch teams, which are New Zealand's biggest sports. Basketball, we do a lot of work with Stephen Adams and the Stephen Adams camps. Steve has anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 kids a year that he looks after. Obviously with lockdown, it's been pretty hard to, and he has to be one of the best athletes that we've seen that come back and actually be a part of his own legacy, which is awesome.
Any advice for other retailers?
Always have content, don't stop posting, and keep the interaction with your customers. Online, the platforms for social media, you just got to keep everybody engaged at all times.
Wax, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story, and I hope that everyone watching this has found that equally useful and informative. But if you have been watching, please do remember that there's plenty of information and advice and financial support to help your business get through the current tough times. Please do reach out if you need help, or check out the links below to obtain business advice, implementation grants, or health and wellbeing support, as well as general resources for the business community. Look forward to seeing you next time for the next edition of How to Retail.